My name is Paula Boddie, and I'm an English instructor here at Nash Community College, and I'm here to talk to you a bit about how I use AVID strategies in the classroom every day. I teach English 080 and Reading 090 on a daily basis, and I have so for many semesters, but this semester I'm taking on the English redesign, the DRE 096 and 097, and as part of that, I am conducting the AVID cohort, so we definitely have a lot of AVID strategies in those classrooms. The first AVID strategy that I've been using a lot is Cornell Notes. I actually, in all of my classes, Reading 090, English 080, and DRE 096, introduce Cornell Notes on day one, right after the syllabus. It helps students set the expectation that I want notes, I expect them to come to class with notes, and how I want them to organize their notebooks. The buy-in is pretty high. They go home knowing that I expect them to come back with notes on the chapters that they've read. And so far, so good. Most of my students come in not even having just attempted the Cornell Notes, but having looked it up a little bit, talked to their friends about it. And the ones who've used Cornell Notes in the past, they tend to have a leg up and share with their neighbors what they know about Cornell Notes. The first few weeks of class, I tend to coach them through the left-hand margin and the summary section of Cornell Notes, and they really like having the opportunity to come up with test questions to put in the left-hand column or key terms, and they really like to have the opportunity to revisit their notes and fill in the summary section, which sometimes is how I start off a class that's right before the test so that they can review all the notes for that chapter. I don't demand that my students take Cornell Notes in my English 080 or Reading 090 courses. I do, however, require it in my DRE 096 class. My DRE 096 students have to turn in Cornell Notes on every chapter that we cover right before they take their end of module test. It's not a problem, it's not a chore. The students are pretty happy to do it because they see it as a necessary part of preparing for the test. Unfortunately, I don't really have any past experiences with requiring students to have Cornell Notes, so I don't know whether to attribute the success my students are experiencing in DRE 096 to the notes or maybe something else that's going on in class. What I can speak to, however, is that in the Reading 090 courses, my first two test grades have been phenomenal. The lowest test grade, I believe, was a 75, and that was only from one student out of two classes. So having done everything else the same for Reading 090 except introducing Cornell Notes, I can say that I've experienced a lot of success, and my students have too. My office partner Kristen Harkins and I talk a lot about how our students are faring much better once they know how to take notes. Now the issue is how to get them to take notes at home. That actually has been pretty easy because I dovetail Cornell Notes with the academic reading strategies that we went over in our last AVID visit. Part of my day, at the beginning of every class period, is I have my students take out their homework sheet, which is my course calendar, that's what we call it, their homework sheet, and I have them explain to me what they'll be reading for homework and what they'll be focusing on. Beside every reading prompt is a specific question that's filled with keywords that they then hunt for in the chapter. So they'll open up their book, the chapter 2, and look for topic sentence, look for exploring the reading process, look for context clues, anything, any buzzword that they found in the reading prompt. They then know that when they go home and do their Cornell Notes, they're going to be focusing on those sections of the book and putting that information in their Cornell Notes. That's what they'll be coming to class with. And so far the buy-in has been tremendous. Students are much more willing to take notes at home, even Cornell Notes, when they know exactly what you want them to put in the notes. If you tell them you want them to take Cornell Notes on chapter 3, I don't think that you'd probably get a good response because they don't know exactly what you want them to get out of chapter 3. So that's why I start with the reading prompt and analyzing the reading prompt. It's really important. Those are just two AVID strategies that I use in the classroom, and it's been very, very successful. Another key thing that I would encourage all instructors to do is you're preparing your syllabi or your course calendar for next semester, put the essential question to the Cornell Notes as the reading prompt. That will really guide students to get exactly what you want them to get out of the reading. And when they come to class, the next class period, don't feel obligated to check their notes and give them a 100. Instead, start calling on them. Ask them what they have in their notes. And if you're really concerned about students maybe taking on Cornell Notes and not really knowing what they're doing, one thing to do is model it. Throw away those PowerPoints that you're using and instead put that information on Cornell Notes. You can download a template from online, that's what I did. And I actually put all of my lecture material on a Cornell Note document. It's a Word document that I then project to the class. So when my students look at the smartboard, they're actually looking at a Cornell Note sheet. Mine is pretty sparse and basically only has the essential question and a couple of undefined terms. And I spend my time using those as talking points, lecture points. Then the students are either busy filling in their Cornell Notes, but most of my students are just busy adding to the notes that they already came to class with. And we spend our lecture time coming up with the left-hand margin material and the summary. That's it. That's how I use Cornell Notes in my class, and it really helps if you dovetail it with another strategy like academic reading.